the first series was that the one in the church or?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So try and picture this, kids. American kids specifically. Floppy fringed Scotsman in a red Butlins coat. Was that the first series, or was that?
Red coat was series 2. Series 1 was black trousers, black
waistcoat, yes.
White shirt,
yes.
cravat, big glasses, long floppy hair, mob gags.
Giant crowd of kids, and he's talking about effectively every 5 seconds you go, so, the young lads at home waggling their joysticks furiously, and at 12, I didn't know what you meant. I was just like,
you didn't. No. Just watching it for what it was.
Did you guys just get any flack for that? Because, surely some parents were watching and going, I can't believe you're saying that.
Do you know, no, we didn't really. It kind of, a lot of that flew over everyone's heads. We didn't get any flack from Channel 4 because they were absolutely clueless about the show. They commissioned the show, then it became this big kind of top 10 success for them, and then that was enough. They'd never even used to watch the show before it went out. I'm sure if they did, half the shows wouldn't have been allowed to be broadcast, but because they didn't understand video games at all. Yeah. And I think because most of the news about the show in that first series was about how it was doing really well in the ratings, and Jonathan Ross had a chat show on at the time, and it was getting more ratings than him, and this new phenomenon about video games, and then there was all the controversies, all these boring old fat ugly people who were going, they corrupt the minds of kids, so then that became...
Still happens.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was really the news story. I think people were too worried about whether these, what they considered to be these new machines were the work of Satan, to worry about waggling joystick references, which, sadly, that was the only gag in the whole of the first series.
Effectively, yes.
Waggling joysticks. It was not my finest comic writing moment.
Well, it still holds up today. I've watched the first 2 series and part of the 3rd series. I stopped after the first few episodes in the 3rd series, and I have yet to go back for reasons we'll go into in a bit. But it really does still hold up, and that's not just me polishing your knob there. I think it's possibly just being able to see these games, when they were in the eyes of these kids in this audience, new. And then they whip out Mario World, and all the kids are like, ooh. And we're like, to us it's commonplace, but we remember, it's casting our minds back to when Mario World and Zelda on the SNES and Sonic 2 were brand new and something that you couldn't, were not just a few clicks of a button away. We literally had to harangue our parents about it and pore over the screenshots we found in the magazines, but that's all we got. So it was crucial to us as gamers back in those days. Right.
And I think also the fact that it was actually game challenges on air as well. That's what helped us succeed where other video game shows didn't really. I think it was because we took these things and made them into something you could understand and get as a televisual thing, even if you didn't like games. It's interesting that when Top Gear had their reboot a few years ago, which launched them into becoming one of the biggest shows on television, that whole race the stig around a track thing, that is actually exactly the same as try and get 100 coins in Super Mario. Yeah. It's exactly the same, and it was really interesting that it was that kind of TV-based challenge that launched them into a whole new stratosphere of viewers. And then that was the reason why we succeeded as well at the beginning. It wasn't just that we were giving people who were interested in games the first chance to see them actually moving on television, but we were also saying, look, even if you're not that into games, this is quite simple. This guy's controlling a little blue hedgehog and he's got to get to the finishing line within 2 minutes. Oh yeah, it's just like the Olympics. And then they can sit down and like...
Seriously, it's really, actually, I shouldn't care about whether some kid, passed a stupid challenge, 15, 16 years ago, but I'm sitting there going, come on! Until they when they get them, I'm like, get in there, son! It really is actually like watching reruns of old sports. So, was it, I seem to remember reading something about it was handled by the sports division of Channel 4 and treated as a sports show. That's odd. But, is that I mean... It's more of a magazine program, kind of, but...
Yeah, I don't know how that... I think what happens in TV is you have all these different departments in television companies, and depending on where the channel is positioned at the time, you get little departments like religion, religion's always got tons of money because there's not a lot of religious programming. And at that time, Channel 4 had no sports rights for anything, so they were setting up this channel. Oh, we better have a sports department. We better allocate this amount of money to it. And all they had was kabaddi. So they had kabaddi and American football highlights, and that was it. So I think it was just a case of that someone thought, oh, this is quite a good idea. Who's got some money? Or let's give it to the guy who does sport.
So you positioned it as sports. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and that's a different way to present games as well, because that's something we don't really see. I mean, you watch the videos that get put up online. It's like, oh yeah, there's the game playing. You know, someone just showing everything that you want to see. But your challenges were always like, this is what you're going to be playing in the game itself. You know, collect 100 coins as fast as, or rings as it would have been on Sonic as fast as time. This was stuff you were actually going to be doing or could relate to if you've already got the game. So it made it a bit more personal rather than just, you know, seeing gameplay footage and someone talking over the top of it.
Yeah. And I think that, I think what made it as well, and this is blowing my trumpet a bit as well, was the fact that we did it with a sports style commentary. And I knew that even though, yes, I was trying to make risque gags and everything, my absolute number one criterion for that series, and in fact every series, was make these challenges just sound like they are the most exciting thing in the world. And I shudder to think just how high my voice is pitched in Series 1, because I've watched a couple of the opening links and it's about an octave higher than it is now. So I could imagine what it was like when Pat Sharp was doing hot dog aerials on Winter Olympics on the Amiga.
Well, taking it back to GamesMaster a little bit, back to the beginning, how did you actually end up landing the job or presenting the show? I mean, who were the other contenders for that role? Or can you not say?
There was Jeremy Paxman, Jermaine Greer.
Oh, God, no! No, you're kidding. You're kidding. Okay, well, I get it. Yeah.
It was completely random in that I was doing, I had just done a degree in drama at Bristol University. I was doing stand-up comedy, which I started doing there. And they had, when I was still in my final year, they had auditions for another Channel 4 show called The Word, which was a horribly trendy youth show.
Yes, I'm very familiar with Terry Christian.
And that was, so they had open auditions for that. It was the first, I guess it was the first X Factor of its kind, really. And they had 12,000 people auditioning, of which I was one. I got to the last 12 of that.
12,000 potential presenters?
Yeah. And
Jesus Christ!
That was at 12,000 desperate wannabes, and of which I was one. And so got to the final 12, didn't get the show. But then Jane Hewland, again, genius that she is, she thought, right, we want someone new to present this show. Instead of me going through the whole rigmarole of trying to find someone, let's just ask those guys if there was anyone they think they could recommend. The company who made it, Planet 24, who made The Word, they were just in Docklands beside GamesMaster as well. So she asked, and some of the guys there said, oh, take a look at this guy, Dominik Diamond. So I went along and had to do, it was in, not the church we ended up using, it was in another church in the East End of London. And I had to do a commentary on, it was a really terrible, big, chunky-faced Game Boy football game at the time, being held in someone's hand, one of the researchers' hands playing it, and I had to do a commentary with Dave Perry on it, and do a couple of links which I'd written, which I did talk about waggling joysticks.
So you did a commentary on chunky-faced football game, and they were like, that is the one. He's the guy.
Well, yeah, I've no idea who else auditioned for it, but they kept me stewing for another few weeks, and then told me, and I remember I was doing this really horrible temping job at the time, and in Milton Keynes, where my parents lived.
God.
And I was sitting, inputting information into a computer all day, and I was sat in a little room on my own, and I remember I used to take my little Walkman in, just for younger viewers, Walkman was an iPod back in the day. And,
it was an iPod with only 8 songs on it.
A tape.
Yeah.
I was listening to music to try and alleviate the boredom, and this horrible tosser of a boss came in and was like, you're not allowed to listen to that while you're working. And I was like, no one else is in here, dude. And I'm just sitting here putting like, no, you can't do it. So I sat there, and the next day I got the call from Adam Wood, the producer, and it said, oh, you've got the show. So I stood up, I packed my bags very slowly, walked out very calmly, and my boss at the time said, Diamond, where are you going? And I said, I'm off to be on the telly. Fuck you. And